Mr. Patu Keswani of Lemon Tree, and talking about specifically their Q4 numbers as well as the outlook going ahead. Mr. Keswani, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a very, very tough environment for everyone, and we have seen to a certain extent that being reflected in your financials as well. A loss of 19 crores, even though overall revenues grew. How much longer do you see the pain continuing? Give us a sense of really how the lockdown has impacted you, how you've been coping, and what the outlook is.
In the next 9 months, there is going to continue to be enormous demand destruction in India for hotels. This will lead, because many hotels are leveraged, highly leveraged, and they are very capital intensive, even in fixed costs. My view is that in the next 12 months, unfortunately, the players with lesser liability, since lots of hotels in India are owned by individuals who have taken leverage to build those hotels, though they are managed by brands, these are going to shut down. In fact, I was told in April, out of 160,000 branded rooms in India, 100,000 were shut, 60,000 were operating, and demand had dropped from 115,000 rooms in February to less than 15,000 in April, which is a 90% drop. So it's really a terrible situation. I wish the banks would support those hotels which are over leveraged. But my broad guess is that this short-term demand destruction will lead to large long-term supply destruction.
Okay, so that's quite a prolonged impact that we are going to see, and frankly sharing that with us. While the ARR rose 3% year on year and occupancy as expected dipped to about 61%, overall RevPAR slid about 19% Y on Y. So what's the outlook on occupancy and RevPAR now, given the partial reopening, and also given that you are saying there's going to be demand destruction over the next 9 months?
So look, there are three consuming segments, as I said: domestic, international, and bulk bookings, which are meetings, weddings, and so on. I personally feel that even if airlines, start operating more and more, right now I'm given to understand that the airlines are ferrying people back home. These are not travelers for the sake of traveling. These are people, most of them, who have been, stranded in some city and are, trying to get back home. My instinct tells me that for the next, till the end of this calendar year, very little, only super essential business travel will happen. People, if they go on holidays, and I'm sure many people will want to, will probably start doing so once there is less fear. If I look at India today, the lockdown has only postponed the explosion of infection. So my broad guess is that in June, July, August, and perhaps September, we will see a very large number of people who are infected, and healthcare will get overwhelmed, and this will lead to further fear. So I don't expect travel. My broad guess is that the occupants, the demand for hotel rooms in India will continue at this current level, which is maybe 16,000 rooms demand, which is, as I said, 10% of what it should be. And this will continue till at least September, October, after which I think domestic travel will start to some extent. People will start driving to resorts for breaks, or essential business travel will start. So to answer your point, very low occupancies for the rest of this calendar year. ARR, since these are not normal customers, these are customers today are people who are quarantining themselves, or are healthcare workers or doctors, or a few companies who have, requirements for business continuity and want to keep people with us so that they can continue working. They serve clients maybe in the US. My guess is that these rates are already very low. They're half our normal ARR.
Right. But walk us through, the cost control measures that the company has put in place, especially to, fight the post-pandemic impact that the company is going to see, in terms of either reducing the fixed and variable costs. What is the current percentage of revenues, and how much are you going to really reduce it by?
No, we've already reduced it. So let me explain. If I'm using this as an analogy, if in February I did 100 rupees of revenue, my fixed costs were about, well, my total costs, excluding interest and repayment of principal, were about 60 rupees. 60% of my revenue. Of that, roughly 80% is fixed, which means about 48 to 50 rupees of my revenues are fixed costs. The largest components of this fixed costs are salaries and second, power and fuel, consumption of energy. So the way we looked at salaries was that if we were, and it was an interesting experience, so we have 8,000 employees, of which 5,000 are on our own payrolls because those are working for our own hotels. Well, out of those 5,000, about 700 account for 40% of the wage bill, roughly. The other 4,300 account for another 40%, and 20% is extra, like staff meals, accommodation, so on and so forth. Excuse me. So when we looked at the top 700 employees, as I mentioned to you a little earlier, we told them that, look, we are not going to ask any of those 4,300 employees, to either go, there is no retrenchment, because my forward perspective is that opening hotels and, laying off employees is all a very easy, quick shortcut. But when you open, one is you lose morale, right? And hotels are all about service. It's not about the building. So these entry-level employees, we will protect, we will retain, and we will pay their full salary. So that was the first call. If we are doing that, how do we reduce wage bills? So I just requested our leadership team, and I said, look, you have to take a minimum of a 50% cut. You are paid far higher than those, entry-level associates. And, going up in grade, so assistant vice presidents will take a 66% salary cut and so on, and I would take 100%, which was, of course, what happened was this 40% came down by 25. Which is the top end. And the other 20, which is neither the salaries but the cost to us for our people, has come down by 2 to 3. So we've saved.
Right. Fair point. I understand. Just coming to what the analyst fraternity is saying. Now, they're pretty positive and they believe that you have addressed largely all concerns, especially around, the leverage and the risk profile by the infusion of that 175 odd crore rupees in floor by APG as well as the deferral of MIAL. But tell us about the leverage position currently and your recent fundraising approval plans that you have in the pipeline.
So our leverage is about 1,500, a little under 1,600 crores. As it happens, most of this leverage is recent because we were very under leveraged till about 2 years ago. Our debt equity was 0.5:1. But with the opening of these new hotels, the 1,600 crore investment that I spoke about, we doubled our leverage, right? So as a result, our leverage, as I said, is 1,600 crores. Now, the good news is this is at about 9.5%. The good news is that most of this repayment is 10, 12 years out. So our typical debt that we take is we take money from banks. The first 3 years, we do not repay anything except interest. Then the next 4 years, we pay about 10% of the repayment of that total debt. And in the next 4 years, we pay about 30%. And in the last 4 years, which is 11 years later, we pay the balance 60%. So really, the way I look at it is a hotel is an appreciating asset. It's not like a car company buying cars, which need to be replaced. And therefore, the depreciation actually is required for replacement. It's a replacement reserve. In our case, our assets only appreciate. So if I borrow money, long-term money, which is devaluing or depreciating at the rate of inflation, and I'm building assets which are appreciating because of replacement costs going up, then over the long term, because we are long gestation projects, we will be able to reprice at that new value, but we will be paying our debt off at that devalued level. So strategically, it makes sense. It just so happens that we are lucky. We are unlucky that we raised all this debt. It's expecting that this year would be fantastic. But unfortunately, because of COVID, it won't be. But the good side is that we have to repay very little of this debt for the next 7 or 8 years. And that's why we raised 300 crores. Our expectation is we'll be out of pocket in the worst case, which is what I just explained to you. The next 7-8 months will be no business. Next year, gradual climb back. And middle of the following year, with herd immunity or vaccine, business will come back to normal. So in that worst case scenario, we were out of pocket about 200 crores. Actually 270, but we had 70 crores in cash. So that 200 crores is covered with this 300 crore infusion. And that's why we have only taken 175 to begin with, because we are not sure we need the full amount.
Okay, walk us through the FY21 capex plans then for renovation. Are they on track? Have they been revised? What's the outlook on that front?
So we renovate 1/6 of our hotels every year. So every 6 years, basically, we completely renovate hotels. So this year, our capex plan, it was 30-40 crores. Obviously, we've deferred it. So this year, we will not do any renovation. We had planned to invest, another 80 crores in Mile, which we have deferred because, there are no workers. It's with Shapoorji Pallonji, who's our contractor. So we intend, based on the situation, to start rebuilding the Mumbai Airport Hotel anywhere between October and March next year, which means that the hotel will be delayed by 1 year. But under the circumstances, it doesn't make sense for us to plan to open it next year. That was the original plan. And we'll probably push it to the end of calendar 22 when demand rebounds. But it's all evolving, and I can just give you a flavor. I can't tell you what exactly we'll do. That depends. Till the end of this year, we won't take a call.